Good morning. Is this micro? Oh, there it is. I don't know what happened. I was so sad. It's like they can't hear me. Such a sad moment, right? Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kathy. I thought I had one Sunday. No, you're here. All right. That's right. Luckily, I didn't do the sermon I joked about doing, so you're fine. You're totally fine. That's an inside joke. If you guys want to have more inside jokes like that, just get to know me better. We can have our own inside jokes. That'd be great. This morning, we're going to do a little bit of teaching before I do some preaching, so I need everyone to stretch your arms up in the air, stretch them up, make sure you're awake, because the first part is not going to be all that exciting. I'm going to try and make it a little bit exciting. I will say this before I forget. The next 2 Wednesdays, there'll be no service. So if you're planning on showing up this Wednesday or next Wednesday, there is no service because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Argentina speaking a foreign language. El Castellano, that's what they speak down there. They don't speak Spanish, apparently. I love languages. I wish I could learn a lot of languages. But I just don't have that kind of time. I would love to learn Tagalog. I don't know if I have it in me to learn Tagalog, but I would love to. I love languages. I think it's fascinating how we can all come up with sounds, and those sounds mean things, and that meaning actually transfers into our brains, and we understand the intent behind the sound. I watched a video where they were trying to create devices for people who had lost their hearing, and they put a wristband on them that would vibrate, and those vibrations were coming from the noises people would make when they would talk. And I thought to myself, that's ridiculous. How could anyone understand what someone was saying from a vibration through the air? And then I thought, oh yeah, that's what hearing is. Vibrations that enter your ears, and they vibrate, and your brain turns those vibrations into meaning. It's wild. It's absolutely wild to me. How many of you recognize this image? This is the Rosetta Stone, right? It was part of a stele that was found, and it was actually pretty neat because there were some ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. This is what I said, just hang with me. Stretch again if you need to. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs that people could not read. They didn't know what they meant, and then they found the stele that gave them an inscription from about 100 years before Jesus, where they had the exact same thing written 3 times in different languages. And they were able to take that stone and decipher those ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs based on this stone. How many of you have a bilingual Bible? 4 of you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I was learning Spanish, my bilingual Bible came in really handy because I could see it in English, and then I could read it in Spanish, and I could start to try and match up what was being said. It was pretty cool, actually. They had that, but with 3 languages. I think languages are fascinating, and we have this story in the Bible that appears to be all about language. This is where the teaching part comes in. I'm going to try and convince you that it's not about language at all. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to try and convince you it's not about language. So I'm going to ask a very obvious question. I think it's obvious. How many of you speak English? I'm going to see every hand raised and every eye closed. No. Right. I think we all speak English. It might not be your first language. It might not even be your second language. It might be your third language. I can tell you this, not a single one of us speaks it perfectly. English is that complicated. It's like we found every language in the world and said, let's make a new one out of all of them. Every rule will have 7 disclaimers, right? It's a hard language to learn, but the fact that we all speak English does not mean that we're all saying the same message. So we've taken this story of the arrogance, this Tower of Arrogance, this Tower of Babel, and we've turned it into a story about where all languages came from. And I'll show you why it's easy for us to do that in just a second. We say, oh, it's Tower of Babel, and this is where they were all speaking the same language, and God came down and he gave them all different languages, and they all looked at each other and said, we don't know what you're saying because you have a different language now, and they all dispersed across the earth, right? That's kind of how our understanding of the story is, but it's something much deeper than that. It's hard for us to see it because in English, It's been translated, pretty much every translation says, now the whole world had one language and common speech. That's pretty much what every translation says. I'm pretty sure even in Spanish it says something very much like this. But actually, in Hebrew, are you with me? Do you need to stretch? Actually, in Hebrew, it's a little more complicated than that. It actually says, now the whole world had one lip and one word. That does not say the word language. That says lip. They all had one lip and one word. You see, we're not talking about a group of people, which we're going to get to the story. We're not talking about a group of people who all speak English or all speak Babylonian or all speak Egyptian. We're talking about a group of people who are all on the same page. They all know what they're working towards. They all know what it is they're trying to do. They're all focused, directly focused on the task at hand. They had one lip. What are you doing? I'm working on this. What are you doing? I'm working on that. They all had the same blueprint. If you've ever worked in construction, you all work off of the same prints. Or you're supposed to. Sometimes the prints get mixed up. You have an old version, right? You build a wall where they moved it. What happened? We didn't have the same lip. That's how you would have said it 3,500 years ago. We didn't have the same lip. Well, what happened? I had an old set of plans. They had a new set of plans. Something happened. We put a wall in the wrong place. That's where a toilet's supposed to go. Had to move the wall. They all were speaking with one lip. They had one message. They had one focus. They had one task. And every single person was dedicated to that task. That's what it means. It's actually a little deeper than that. It's actually where it's used for leaders who disseminate the task to the people. They have one lip. That's why it's one. It's one person dictating to everyone what to do, and everyone's on board. Right? So, are you with me? This isn't about language, because we all said we speak English. But I can guarantee you there are people in here who disagree with each other, even though you speak the same language. Right? Some of you are married to someone who you disagreed with just this morning. What's the problem? Aren't you both speaking the same language? Yeah. We disagreed in English, all right. But we don't have the same message. We don't have the same lip. We don't have that commonality. And so we get pushed and pulled this direction and that because we're not on the same page. I think probably saying, now the whole world was on the same page. That makes more sense to us. They're all in agreement about what they're supposed to be doing, and they're all doing it. As the people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar. That's kind of in the land of Babylon. Of course, this is before there was a Babylon. And they settled there. They said to each other, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. Now, there were stones that would have been maybe easier to access, but they're getting kind of ingenious here, and they're coming up with new ways to build things. Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They're all on the same page. No one says, no, let's use stones instead. They said, no, we got our one word. We got our page of instructions. We got our blueprint. We're supposed to be using bricks that we bake thoroughly, so that's what we're going to do. And they didn't argue about it. They didn't fight over it. They didn't, I have a better way to do it. No, we got our instructions. We're singularly focused. We know what we're going to do. We're going to bake bricks. Isn't that exciting? We should have a little lab where we all bake bricks here at church. Wouldn't that be fun? No? Okay, never mind. Field trip. They used bricks instead of stone and tar for mortar. They're all on the same page. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. They got their instructions. They don't deviate from their instructions. And they start building. Then they said, come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens. Just a little side note here. When you read this story, most of us, and even my image kind of gives away, most of us think it's about a tower. The word tower is talked about twice. The word city is 3 times. God didn't come down and stop them from building a tower. He stopped them from building a city. Let's keep reading. Come, let us build for ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens. Why would you ever build a city? And I'll admit, I don't know why this image shows the Tower of Babylon getting struck with fire from the heavens. I'm not sure where that came from, but it was a cool image, so I used it. Why do you build a city? In the ancient world, why do you build a city? To protect yourselves, yeah. You also do it for your God. The very first thing you do when you go about in the ancient world of building a city is you petition your God, should we be building this city? And when we do, this city's for you. We'll have a temple to you here in this city. Some of them had roads paved with gold that went to the temple of their God for that city. The city was always supposed to be about their God. But you'll notice what they said. Let's build a city for ourselves. It's real easy to get people to be egotistical and all on the same page. What are we doing it for? We're doing it for us. Oh, if we're doing it for us, then I've got no disagreement. I'm going to benefit, I'm down. It's for me, I'll do it. It's for somebody else, I don't know. I mean, they can benefit too, I guess, but if it's for them, let's make it for us. Let's not even make it about God at all. Let's just, all the things that we do, let's just make it about us. Let's do it to make us feel good. Let's do it to benefit us. Let's forget about God. So we make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered over the face of the whole earth. Now, that is what's called a story clue. Remember when you watch a movie and someone says, okay, there's only one rule in this house. Don't open that closet door. You pretty much know the whole movie is going to be about what happens when you open that closet door. When you read a story and they said, let's do this, lest we be scattered, you know what's going to happen. You don't even have to keep reading. What's going to happen to them? They're going to get scattered. They'll be scattered over the face of the whole earth. See, their fear is they're going to get scattered and be separated from one another. So they devise a plan that's all about themselves, not about God at all. And they build this tower and they build this city. It's supposed to be built for God. The things that we do in our lives are supposed to be for God. And therefore, if it's for God, it's for others. It's not supposed to be all about us. But they decided to build a city and build a tower that was going to be all about them and making a name for themselves. And their leader said, let's do it. Let's all get on the same page. And everyone said, amen. Let's do it. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the people were building. Here's another weird thing in this text. If yours says that they were building it, that's actually not what it says. It actually says this. Had built. God didn't stop them from building the tower. They built it. It was done. What he stopped them from building was the city. Because a tower is one thing, and once you're done building a tower, you're done. Cities continually grow and build, right? So they have this tower that's supposed to be for God. In the ancient world, this is a little weird, but in the ancient world, what you would do is you would build a ziggurat, or you'd build a tower, and you'd build it high, and it represented your God, and it was for your God. And they said, yeah, let's do all of that. Let's do all the things that's supposed to be for God, but let's do it for ourselves instead. Let's not even ask God what we're supposed to be doing. I know what I want, and what I want is for people to recognize me, so I'm going to do things that are all about me. The Lord came down, and he saw the tower that the people had built. The Lord said, if as one people speaking one word, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. It says they're all on one page. They all have one lip and one word. They all have one set of blueprints. And when they all come together and they say, let's do this, nothing's going to stop them. Come, let us go down and confuse their lip, so they will not understand one lip from another. And this is where we say, oh, so he gave them different languages. No, he gave them different blueprints. He gave each of them different building instructions. So they show up to work the same day and they, what are you going to do? I'm going to build a wall right here. No, you're not. There's supposed to be something else going on here. And someone says, your plans are all wrong. He creates confusion among them. They all think they have the same set of plans, but they don't. Ignacio, how many arguments have you been in where you have a set of plans? You're like, no, look, right here. And they say, that's revision 14. We have revision 15. And someone jumps in and says, 15's an old one. I got revision 17. He confuses their purpose. He doesn't confuse their language. I do not need someone to speak to me in a foreign language for me to misunderstand them. Amen? Husbands? You can speak to me in my native tongue and I will misunderstand you just fine. You don't need to shake your head yes at that. How dare you? Here in front of all these people. No, I'm really good at it. I'm very adept at misunderstanding because I overthink everything. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not. Those of you who know me pretty well, you might know that. I don't know. I don't need you to speak to me in a language I don't understand for me to not understand. You can speak to me in English, and sometimes I still won't get it. God didn't come down and confuse their languages. He came down and confused their plan. That is the easiest way to get people to just give up and go away. Is when you lose the focus of what it is you're supposed to be doing. And he did it to them because they weren't doing anything for God or for others. They were doing it for themselves. This was a selfish city. And it was all about them and what they want. And there are people and organizations and groups that exist in this world just for themselves. The church is not supposed to, I'm getting ahead of myself. The church is not supposed to be one of those places. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to confuse their plan. I'm going to give each person a different set of plans. They won't know what they're supposed to be doing anymore, and they'll all just go away. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. They stopped building the city. This Tower of Arrogance, this tower of selfishness, this tower of ego, where it's all about me. It's about what I want. It's about what I want to achieve. It's about what I want you to do for me. Not about what I will do for you. So what is this story about? Like I said, I got ahead of myself. I already told you what it's about. It's about a group of people that come together and they're solely focused, and there is nothing that they can plan to do that they cannot achieve if they all just stay on the same page. The problem is they're selfish and it's all about them. And churches that become all about themselves will soon become very confused. We'll lose our purpose. We lose our focus. It's not about language. There's an interesting history behind interpretation of this story, and it is fascinating. You know, there are groups of people on earth today that say that their language escaped the curse of multilingualism. Did you know that? Raise your hand if you knew that. I knew it. Nobody knows that. Did you know that? Yeah, there are groups of people that actually think their language escaped. They escaped to the islands of the Netherlands. And therefore their language is pure, unadulterated by the curse of multilingualism. There are places that will say we can't have a church service with two languages happening because of the curse of multilingualism. We all need to be on the same language. No, you don't. You have to be on the same page. You have to have the same purpose. It's not about language. It's the curse of confusion. I don't know if you haven't stretched because you're hanging in there with me, or if you haven't stretched because you're just totally asleep now. I haven't seen any stretching. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm going to say it's good. just going to roll with it. It's the curse of confusion, where people show up to work and they no longer know what it is they're supposed to be doing. I don't know if you've ever been a part of a team or an organization where you've lost your focus, you've lost your way, and you just show up and you're like, I don't even know why I'm here anymore. What am I doing here? I'm out of here. That's the story. So this is a totally different story, but it's the same message as last week. This is my fear for any church, our church, any church. That we forget what it is we're supposed to be doing. We forget what it is we're supposed to be about, or worse, we start doing things just to benefit ourselves. Or what can we do that's going to make us feel good? And we lose our focus. We lose why we're here. And when you lose why you go somewhere, you stop going there. Right? You stop going. Why am I here? Maybe you stop going to church altogether. Because that last place left such a bad taste in your mouth. It happens. But God said, look, if they could all be on the same page, and in this case, all on my page, whatever they want to do, they can do it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. Just don't make it all about yourself. That's all. It's fairly simple. It's fairly simple to say it. But when we begin to make our own lives about ourselves, begin to make our marriages about ourselves, begin to make how we raise our children all about how I feel, and not about them, suddenly people start to show up at your house and wonder why they're there. And you go to a church and they make it all about themselves and what they want to accomplish, about what they want to do, and they didn't even ask, the people building the tower in the city, they didn't even ask God, should we do this? They didn't even ask him. They said, this is what we're going to do. And when we live our lives with no thought of God and no thought of others, that's a plan that's doomed to fail. If you ever wanted to be scattered, that's a real good way to scatter everyone around you. Is to make everything about you. This is my last slide, huh? I'm not quite ready yet. Okay, now I'm ready. I'm just kidding. We need to have our focus brought back. We need to bring our focus back to what it is we're supposed to be about. Now, you guys know I'm not a sports guy, and I've never had anyone say, we need more sports illustrations. But I'm sorry, this is the only thing I can think of. There's this thing where you just got to get back to the basics in sports. The basic fundamental things that you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes it's so easy to get so advanced in something you forget the very basic things that make you a good player. For me, it was singing, and there were very basic things that you did to make sure that you would sing well. Are you breathing right? Are you standing right? There are some very basic things the church is supposed to be doing. It's real easy to get distracted. It's real easy to get distracted. We don't want to become a scattered church. Remember a few weeks ago I preached a sermon, and you guys were enthralled. You hung on every word. I remember. And We were going through the book of Revelation, and we looked at this one church. And Jesus says, if you don't change, you've lost your first love, and if you don't come back to your first love, I will come and I'll snuff out the light of that candle. It didn't say this, but then the people will scatter. Let's not let that be us. It doesn't have to be us at all. The good news of the story is all you have to do is stay focused on what it is we're supposed to do, and God is going to bless that work. Nothing that you want to do will be impossible. Nothing. Everything is possible with God. Everything. There are no limits. The only limit is when we interject our own ego into it and say, this is what I want. Things have to be just like this because I want them just like that. And suddenly we lose our focus. We forget what it is we're supposed to be about. Let's not do that. All right, now next slide. For those of you participating in the Youth 1050, you can follow Brandon back. Just as a reminder, this is for people in the 8th grade and higher. So 8th grade and higher, if that's you, follow the gentleman in the red sweater. For the rest of us, let's make sure that in our lives and in this church, we don't lose focus. Let's make sure we have one lip. Amen? Amen.